Welcome back. I'm foregoing the, sorry about the throat gurgle there. I'm foregoing the normal intro. We're going to join Mario Fama on a little bit of a delay, and I don't usually carry other people's shows or pirate. Well, I do pirate sometimes, but I don't carry other people's shows. But I think this is an important conversation. I'm in the Dominican Republic, been here almost 3 years selling real estate, and anyone can sell real estate in the Dominican Republic, and they do. And, you know, in some parts of the some parts of the North Coast, the buyer broker gets paid 10% to bring the deal. So it can be a decent living as well. You don't have to sell a whole lot of properties to, live down here as an expat selling real estate, especially with the cost of living down here. So I think it's a great conversation. Mario's a talented broadcaster, very entertaining. If you've ever seen him on the Facebook groups, he's got an expat Facebook group in the Dominican Republic. And even if I'd suggest signing up for it anyways, because it's just so entertaining. So without further to-do, we're going to join Mario Fama. There is a little bit of a lead in here. I'll get a good cut for you here. And maybe what I'll do is I'm going to let this run. It should run for about an hour till 5 o'clock Eastern. And I'm going to pop out and then pop back in. And maybe there'll be some questions we can pick up on. If you want in, comment in the space provided below. I don't know. I got to get out of here. Okay. Welcome aboard. And for all you realtors out there, or if you're considering being an expat, maybe you're in North America and you're tired of the inflation, tired of the regulation, tired of, I don't know. The greatest thing I noticed when I came down here is I had forgotten that people actually still love each other. I love this guy. So here we go. Welcome aboard.
Now, what's going to be different about this podcast? Well, we're going to take our rose-colored glasses off. We're going to put our real glasses on. And we're going to talk about the hard-hitting subjects that nobody talks about being an expat here in the Dominican Republic and in Latin America in general. We're going to talk about law. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about lifestyles, and everything the Dominican Republic has to offer. The good, the bad, the ugly. Kind of like the Clint Eastwood Spaghetti Western, but here in the Dominican Republic. If you have any questions, we'll answer them for you. We're going to talk about everything that relates to being an expat, not just in Punta Cana, but Santo Domingo, Santiago, the North Coast, the East Coast, West Side, even the West Coast. Everywhere. And if you want to be a patrocinador and have your logos up here and sponsor us, then let me know. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Mario Fama RD Show, your expat guide to the Dominican Republic. And before we get started today, because we have an exciting show, I just want to give a big shout out and thank you to our sponsors here in the show that have been with us since we started. First one's off is Naco Cochones right here. They have offices here, showrooms here in Punta Cana and in Naco, Santo Domingo. Then we also have, here we go, Samana Group, largest landholder in the Samana Peninsula. Amazing designs. They're just doing some really, really big things in Samana. So they are Samana. And then Gold Reef Properties here in Punta Cana and also in Playa Nueva Romana. If you don't know about Playa Nueva Romana, you should check it out. Oceans 4 golf course, amazing. So tons of great projects, and they've been sponsoring us. So thank you very much. So welcome, guys, and here we are today. And I have some very, very special guests. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Of course. Thanks for having us. Nadia and John with Dominican Home. We're from Canada. We've been here for almost 2 years.
Welcome.
Thanks you.
Thanks for having us.
And then we also have the wonderful.
Hi, I'm Candy Cash, originally from North Carolina. I am with CJ Cash Allen Real Estate Group. I'm also a Florida broker, and I have been in Bavaros since 2014 and been in business since 2019.
awesome. Super awesome. So today we have a special episode that we're going to talk about basically about the proposed licensing. I have a lot to share with you guys that are in the brokerage community. This really pertains a lot to us and to those of you that are buyers that want to know what's going on here, because we hear this all the time in social media. There's no licensing in the Dominican Republic. There's no licensing. Well, we've got the good and we got the bad scoop on that. But first of all, I want to start off with you guys and just ask you, what made you come here to the Dominican Republic?
I'll take this over. So for us, so we come from Canada. I grew up in Canada. Loved it there. For me, I was looking for a little bit different lifestyle for my family, different way of life, and we love the culture here. Obviously, the climate. I do love the winter a little bit, but obviously I could do without it.
We'll save it for skiing.
Exactly, and definitely came here for the driving. I'm just joking.
That was a good one. That's great. And Candy?
Well, what first brought me here, I worked in timeshare in another island, the beautiful island of Jamaica, and won a free trip. And then the next year in 2014, I came over and worked, and I saw what was going on real estate-wise, so I knew that was one of my...
Want exclusivity and privacy.
So
I want it all, and I want it now.
Let's touch on that. So where I see Punta Cana going is more out of the Airbnb focus and more into the lifestyle focus. Everyone wants the lifestyle. Even some of the people that have become my friends that I've actually sold to, they're looking for, and they're the young expat community. They're not, you know, in a wheelchair or walking cane. They are young, vibrant retirees that want the lifestyle. And I'm also seeing more of the commercial opportunities and more of the hotels. I mean, you're neck and neck. So I think out of the Airbnb focus, more into the lifestyle focus. That's what's going on here.
I think so. I see the same thing. I think we have to get away. You know, everything can't be Airbnb, right? No. I mean, there are some properties that are great, you know, and you buy them for Airbnb. They're in the strategic locations, but we also have to look at long-term living. And with the trade-free zone coming here from Grupo Punta Cana and all these different, the art district and things like that, there's a lot that's going to be coming here. So I think we also have to focus on living here, not just vacationing. It's a place where people are going to permanently live, kind of like a third city.
Absolutely.
I totally agree, and that's totally going to make the economy and the retail outlets and all the stores, and it's going to benefit everything as a whole.
I definitely agree with that. Now, with that being said, what do you feel are the challenges that you've seen and that you've experienced as a real estate agent, broker, and just doing business here in real estate?
Generally, for us, it's communication. Absolutely.
Not necessarily as language Spanish versus English either.
It's the communication style and the expectations. The North Americans are very like ... and we need everything done yesterday. Where here, people
a little
are
bit more manana, a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
Getting things done. You want to be completely clear in your communication and double check and then check again and make sure everything is, because what I find is when we communicate and to get something completed, oh well, it wasn't quite that way. So that would be one of the biggest
challenges here.
Yeah.
And you, Candy?
Challenges, I would say communication, definitely. You're dealing with different cultures, different people's way of doing business, and because of the lack of regulation, we have, you know, you're dealing with all different types of personalities, nationalities, and also understanding how to, I think selling real estate here actually has to do with also living here and understanding the culture and the lifestyle of where you live. So many times I've seen brokers come from the United States. I'm sure Mario has seen it as well. You know, where we come down, you know, oh, it seems easy because, again, your first thought is, oh, everyone can do it, but everyone can't do it. And it's a lot of things that you don't know about here that you have to live it and breathe it to understand it. And dealing, like you said, with the communication and we're dealing with sellers and developers and even our clients that are coming from our home countries.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. One of my biggest issues, and I'm East European and I'm from New York City. So what does that mean? I double, triple communicate. You will know why, when, where, what color, what it smells like, what was my motivation since I was 5 years old. And then you come here and everybody's just like, and you're just like, what?
Like pulling teeth.
That's
Well,
brutal.
which also leads me to now, because this show, I want to kind of address a lot of things when it comes to the brokerage community, us, the expats. Everybody that knows me knows that I am very pro-expat. I don't know how I got into this, but I'm just outspoken, and maybe I'm a little bit cuckoo in the Cocoa Puffs, but somebody's got to speak up for us. Why? Because I come from New York City, and I come from a place where it doesn't matter if you're from Dominican Republic, Colombia, Russia, Italy, Thailand. You've got your people, and you have people that advocate for you. And I think that one of the biggest things that I've seen here, not just here, I say here because this is where I'm at and this is where I do the show, but I see it throughout most of Latin America. I've seen a difference. I can say, I don't have enough experience, but I've seen a little difference in Panama City. I have seen this a little bit different, right? So I have, points of where I can compare. But in general, in Latin America, we come here, we invest, we open up businesses, we invest in the country, taxes and everything, and we just don't have representation. Now, where I'm going with this, a lot of you guys, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, we talk about MLS, right? There is an MLS here, and they don't even realize they're an MLS. I've spoken to some of the top people, right? Because I'm in that circle. I speak fluent Spanish. I hang out mostly with Dominicans. I've been in Santo, I live in Santo Domingo. I live in Santo Domingo and here. I'm in that group, right? So there is an MLS here, just so you guys understand. It's just not called MLS. It's called AEI.
Yes.
And I've spoken to the head of AEI, and he said, well, we're also going to want to implement an MLS because we're going to talk about what they want to do here as far as regulation. Now, I said, but you guys don't need to. You already have it. It's just different letters. People have to understand that MLS, right? It just stands for multiple listing service. And it's basically exclusives on the platform, and the brokers were able to talk between each other. The MLS failed, in my opinion, in the United States because they allowed Zillow to take over. Zillow bought Zillow, Trulia, Street Easy. They bought Agent Folio. If those of you guys know, there's there's programs that we have now. They were just the same duplicate as programs that were bought by Zillow and killed, right? So what happens is the words MLS are just an empty meaning. You could call it BCD, broker sharing, or BSD, broker sharing, BSL, right? In Manhattan, for example, we call it REBNY, Real Estate Board of New York. That's our MLS. It's a REBNY, and they have a website, and that's what AEI has. So if you guys are aware, I believe it's like 35 years or something, over 30 years, they have had an association here. It's called AEI. They have a website, and when I was a member under somebody else, and I'll get to that why I'm under somebody else, they have it, but if you call, everything's gone. It's not updated. So they have, and I'm seeing the same kind of stuff. Like MLS, I grew up in New York, in Queens, as a broker, and we had MLS LI, multiple listing service of Long Island, because Queens is part and Brooklyn are part of Long Island. We're on the same island, right? And what happened is they were never front end friendly. So they people didn't know, the same way we don't know an association exists. The buyers and the renters didn't know. Let me look on MLSI.com and see what all the brokers have.
There's lots of differences between the two, though, and I know they were originally from New York. So can you talk a little bit of the differences from the MLS there to what
Well,
is
even
here?
Florida's different.
Yeah,
the
well,
way
that's
what
true.
you're talking about is completely different in Florida, where our MLS system is broken up. So into different counties within
Same in
Florida.
New York, no, yeah.
So I mean, and to your point, Zillow and Realtor.com, it killed a lot of that. But yeah, I mean,
They took over the front end.
They took over, but then you still, I mean, a lot of my colleagues still, right now, I'm still licensed, but I'm not currently active in Florida selling. But you have to pay into, not have to, but it's kind of pretty much, you have to pay into the MLS to have that access. So to Mario's point, AEI has been around forever.
30 plus years.
And when I initially, and I'm sure you're going to touch on that, when I came down and my challenges of attempting to join AEI as a brokerage and an individual. So I'm sure you.
Oh, I'm going to touch on all of this because I love this stuff. I've been doing real estate for 30 years. This is all I know. So I can talk for 77 days about this. Now, the difference is in the United States, you're not mandated. I don't know how it is in Canada, but we're not mandated to be part of the board, right? So our governing body is the Department of State. I have my license. You can look me up. I'm in New York City. I have a license. I have a brokerage in Manhattan. And my governing body, the rules and what I have to abide by is the Department of State, which is the entire country, just different states. Then we have Westchester MLS, MLSLI, which covers Queens, Long Island, and that. Then we have REBNY. There's no MLS in Manhattan. It's called REBNY. But I'm not forced to be part of that. Now, if I join a company and the brokerage is part of it and they say, hey, you have to, in order to work with us, then yes, they can force me to be part of that and pay my dues. But they're not, they're the governing body, but I don't know if you've experienced this with MLS. I've had issues over commissions and the fees that I had to pay in order just to debate over a commission. I might as well take a $16,000 loss and not have it, so that they really, and this is where MLS has failed, also the agents. Because right now in New York, so you guys understand, we have Street Easy owned by Zillow, right? Every exclusive goes up there. And they have a thing. They're so strict that if you don't put you catch an exclusive and you don't put it up on Street Easy within X amount of time and they find out, they won't let you put it up. Like, they punish you. So basically, private companies run what we do as brokerages. And you're able to buy. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff with that I'm not a fan of what they did. But MLS and the governing these multiple listing services, they did not create front end usability, and they did not. I don't feel like they protect enough the brokerages, and you'll see that also here in the association. That issues with the North, because the North, Santiago, and all that, and they fought with the people as well because you don't feel protected. Why am I paying a membership? Why? I no longer need you to tell, because I'm a broker in New York. I go on Street Easy and I see what you have. Hey, how you doing? Do you have that apartment at 133 Willow Street or whatever available? Yes. Okay, cool. How much are you paying out? And it's 50-50. Okay, great. And if I know you're part of Revenue, I can see that you're going to pay 50-50 because they have their own rules. MLS has different rules.
Yeah.
MLS in Canada, they're seeing the same challenges there as well.
Because they didn't think about the front end usability. So now here, AEI, they have an association. They've been around, so they don't need to invent an MLS. They actually have it. All they have to do is just start, making sure people update the stuff, create the coding that every 30 days, every week, 2 weeks, you have to hit an update and refresh button. That's all in the coding of the website, right? Now, touching back on what you said, the reason why my fellow ex-Patagonians from Sosúa, Cabarete, Las Terrenas, Punta Cana, Santo Domingo, Santiago, Valladolid don't know about the association is because, in putting it in plain French, we're not welcome.
Right.
And I'm going to be 110% brutally honest. There's no other way. They want you to be a permanent resident in this country. They want you to be a permanent resident, right? But also, another thing that you guys have to understand, I know a lot of people here work in real estate and they might work informally because as an independent contractor, it's almost like you're getting a referral commission, right? It's not structured. But I will tell you, a lot of us that work here in Punta Cana, because this is a major city, so you don't want problems with taxes and things like that. I have an SRL for 5 years. Under an SRL, you are legally allowed to register it and work as a broker. I am registered as a broker with the Puestos Internos. I pay taxes here. I pay more money here than I pay in 5 in the United States because of the way the tax system works. We pay 18% tax on commissions. So we are legally allowed to do this. Now, we're legally allowed to operate it. When I go to the supermarket, when I go get clothes or whatever, I use my comprobante fiscal. And if it's B101, I get the credit on that. So we're all allowed to do that, but we're not legally allowed. Well, not legally, because it has nothing to do with the law. It's internal for them. We're not allowed and we're not welcome to be part of the association. And it's created a divide between the expat community and the locals. So I think it's like, I don't understand how, when we make up such a large part of brokerages, agents, as well as investors in this country. And that's something that's going to divide us until something can be worked out. And then I have here, this is a proposal of licensing in the Dominican Republic. I think any professional person you speak to wants licensing, right? I think we can agree that we all want licensing and we want rules. And I tell people this, if you're a broker, it affects you a lot more than it does the buyer. And I'll tell you why. Because you as a buyer, you run into me, you run into one of us, you're gonna run into a great agent, we're gonna help you. Exactly. Me, as a broker owner, I've had people who went, grabbed the commission from a developer, ran, and now what do I have to do? I have to take them to court for the next 5 years to get $5,000, $3,000 that they stole from me, might have. And you almost have to let it go. So it affects us internally a lot more.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying about the AEI, when I first came to set up my business, came back to Punta Cana in 2019, I looked up AEI and I did research about it. And if you are a NAR, which everyone I'm sure have heard NAR all in the headlines, a NAR International member, it was told to me that you are able to join the AEI if you have that NAR International membership. But again, it goes back to your point. You would have to then join, you have to get back active in your local, state, and national associations. So,
I don't understand how we're talking about legal. We're legally allowed to work, because when you create an SRL, the SRL is a legal entity, right? It's a legal entity. And I don't know if you guys know, but I'll give you guys a little more about how it works as an SRL, right? An SRL, you get credit. I have my car financed. I can get a mortgage. You don't need a cedula. After 2 years of closing, financial closings, right? So you close out your end of year, right?
Yeah.
After 2 closings, you build credit. I have a black card here from Banco Santa Cruz, the highest card they have. It's a legal entity. So
Yeah.
I, as a foreigner, now invested in the country, I got a legal entity. I pay taxes on this legal entity, and it's allowed. So my legal entity should be able to get a license.
Yes.
That's right.
So now, let's go to the fun part. There's a bunch of stuff that I've read in here. Some of it is not even clear, on legal aspects of it. Some of it might be unconstitutional. One, they want all people that qualify that they're supposed to qualify for licensing. They want you to have a bachelor's degree. Now, I don't know where in the Guantanamera they came up with that, because in North America, a high school diploma or whatever, it's fine, So let's remove the part now where you own a legal entity, right? That should not be contested, and that should be protected, because it's almost like saying, well, you got Confitur for 15 years, but now 3 years in, we want to change the law. Now you no longer have, and you got to pay taxes on your $1 million property.
Exactly.
No, there should be grandfathering in. You can't just run people out of business the next day because you feel like it, because now you want to change it and you're going to hurt these people. That's very hurtful. There are people who bought offices like me, people who invested in offices, who have teams, marketing, and all that money. One thing people have to understand, us expats, when we come in and we invest in the country, we're not doing remesas. We're not sending our money back home. Our money stays here in the economy. It's invested in cars, property, food, restaurants, clothing, all my money 100% goes back into this country. I don't send anything back home. So we have to clarify that that's money being made for the country and taxation being made for here.
And you're not getting anything back.
No.
Look, the first
We're not
thing
even allowed to belong to the
first thing my
association.
accountant said is, you don't get anything back, but you get nothing back. So again, it's and we are part of, and I'm ready for you to unpack this definitely all across the board, because it not only hurts the dynamic of real estate, but like you said, we're tax-paying brokerage entities.
Yeah.
I have my own entity. You have so we're not freelancing, and we are paying taxes into the country.
And I definitely think that I understand the regulation part of it, and I think it should be okay. Cool. Open up an SRL, and you legally should be able to work up under the SRL. That's currently law. So instead of trying to annul a law, because here's a weird question, right? Why are we, and I'm going to touch on this, why are we right now wanting to make it so difficult for someone to work in real estate under an SRL, but not as a restaurant, not as a hotel, not as a brick seller, not as an electrodomestico seller? Why? Because it makes a lot of money, and now all of a sudden it's like, wait, you guys are making too much money. That's how I personally feel. You know what I mean? It's like we're part of the community. Right, we're part of the community, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like we should be allowed or grandfathered into, or have it set that, okay, if you don't qualify, because let's get back to people like, well, just get legal. I don't know how, you've spoken to your clients, right?
Of course.
And I think I don't know if you guys can agree with me. There are 2 ways here that this goes. One, oh my God, you got lucky, it was streamlined, it went well. Another one, you went through the 7 rings of fire and you still don't have it.
That's right. So based on this, I know you're going to get to it, but it seems to me like what they're doing is creating a lot of hurdles to avoid the people that have been doing it to do it. One of the rules is the bachelor degree. The other one is the citizenship for 5 years. I know you're going to touch on that.
Yeah, it's a resident. So they want you to be a resident for 5 years, but to have lived here and established residency for 5 years. Yeah. So I know some of you guys are like, Mario, what are you talking about? It's the same thing. Wait. There are ways, creative ways here that people get residency where if you have a business abroad and you open up an SRL here, we go back to the SRL, now all of a sudden it's legal, you're able to actually get a permanent residency because you linked it as a sucursal, like as an extension of your business that's already been established for 5 years in the States. So there's workarounds here for creative attorneys that do that, right? So what happens is, in theory, you can get a permanent residency but not be able to establish the 5 years that you've lived here because you don't have a lease. So that opens up the door to things that we don't want to happen, right? Yeah. We should be able to do everything legally, straight, and that's the way that it should be done. So that opens up a completely different door because you can get permanent residency without 5 years here.
Absolutely.
And that,
a lot of my timeshare colleagues actually did that. And when I first came to Punta Cana, I came with that because it was sort of like how real estate is now. You could come and you could work without the work visa, without the work permit. I had one in Jamaica, but I first came my first 3 months in Punta Cana. It wasn't regulated, and then they started cracking down. They wanted everyone to become, get your cedula. That's what they wanted. So it goes back to your point, creating that now. I mean, how do you start over? You can't start over.
No.
I mean, at this point.
I mean, if you think about this, okay, you have to be a 5, and you know where the 5-year comes from? It comes from the association. This is back to the reason why we could be here selling real estate, we could be successful, paying our taxes, but we can't sit at the same table. And I have video photos, and I put it up. They invited me to speak at the East, you know, because there's the Eastern Association here. I've sat there and I've spoken to them. I've spoken to the person in charge of here at events. I've spoken to the head of this, and you know, I'm disappointed. I want to say the word is disappointed, and kind of heard that their main thing once you start, because you know, obviously you can tell I talk a lot and I really get to the point with things, right? They're just like, well, it doesn't really affect us. Yes, but it affects us expats all over. Sosua, Cabarete, Las Terrenas, Punta Cana, all over the country that have invested here doing business. It affects us too. We are part of the same community.
Yeah, well, not only the expats, but as you mentioned, based on what they're saying here, it's going to affect a large amount of the Dominicans that.
Correct, because okay, you have to have a bachelor. So what happens to all the people that don't have? I see it as excluding the foreigners, right, that are working here legally under an SRL, right? That should not be touched with. That should be allowed, because it is. If I'm able to open up an SRL now and open up a hotel and sell this and sell that, and I've been doing it legally as a real estate, why are you taking that entity's right? Because an SRL is a Dominican entity, and you're taking that entity's right away. Then you talk about the bachelor exclusion. Okay, you have the bachelor exclusion. So now, you know, especially people coming from the United States and Canada and Europe. Okay, let's say that they do get their permanent residency and they spend 5 years waiting to work in real estate.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm at 3.7 years and waiting.
Almost ready.
Okay, so we do that, right? But now I don't have a bachelor's, and it's very common nowadays in the world that people are seeing that there is no benefit in the United States. People are seeing there's no benefit to a bachelor's. You get into debt. Now I have a whole lot of money, and people are taking courses and they're learning things, or they might have done vocational studies. They might have learned how to be an electrician. They might have learned how to be a surveyor or something like that, and they don't have a bachelor's, but they're trained. There's no direct correlation anywhere in the world, because look, what we do is very difficult, real estate. You know, those of us that are professionals, it's a very difficult job. But let's understand, I'm not doing rocket science here. I'm not a lawyer here where you're going to go to jail for 15 years if I defend you poorly. You know, you're not going to lose your home if I defend you purely in a legal matter. So I don't want to important size, I don't know if that's a word, myself. You know what I mean? We're not doing rocket science here, folks. If the guy from Uber was able to sell real estate and now tomorrow he can't, it's obviously the transition point is not that great. So you're trying to exclude them. They're also excluding anyone who's in military or public, it's like public security.
Really?
Yeah. So if you're a military member, you can't do real estate on the side here. So basically, I'm seeing a lot of exclusions. I'm not seeing any inclusions. And I'll tell you what. Some of you guys, especially those of you guys that are not in the mix in these bigger cities, right? Well, that's never going to pass. Nothing ever passes here.
It could.
Nothing happens until it happens.
Exactly, because we've seen even changes the last 5 years that'll make your head spin, and you're thinking it won't happen, and it will. And I think a lot of it has to do, and I say, is the mass exodus of the other brokers coming in from larger cities, and also a lot of our fellow expat communities coming in from that are still living abroad that are selling down here. I think people started seeing the potential of you know, how much money you can make in real estate, and there's a huge misconception that we're down here. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made in Punta Cana in real estate.
The whole country.
The whole country.
At the biggest boom ever. We're at the high point of the real estate business in the history of the Dominican Republic.
And I think a lot of this has started coming because people started seeing, but on the same note, we're paying taxes. So it's, yes, we're making money, but just as much money is made, as much money is going out the door. Like you said, when you talk about overhead and just the 28% tax on everything, you know, for going out to eat and everything, you're spending a lot of money in the country. So I guess my main thing as we unpack it is this enforceable? Where do we see this going in the next year? Do you feel like it's going to be?
Look, you know, and I've spoken to my partner who's an attorney. He said, Mario, some of the stuff is unconstitutional. But what I think what we need to do, and again, with my law firm, I'm willing to do it, is like, I think it's called like filing an injunction. Because here's the thing, because I speak fluent Spanish and I'm very vocal online, I've been on lives with attorneys from Santo Domingo, from La Vega, that are submitting their changes for their people, right? They're like, oh, wait, this is not good. This is not good. But if there's nobody doing it for us, the expats, they'll get changes because this has been sitting there for a while.
Of course.
And there'll be changes, right? But those changes won't be beneficial to any of us.
Right.
Absolutely. And we're not against regulations. We think we can all agree that there's going to be huge benefits with them. but for the businesses that are doing everything by the standard now and regulation-wise to immediately take that away, I think that's where they're going to come some hurdles.
Right, because they copy. So this law, just so you guys understand, because I mentioned I'm a Panama a lot because I'm a Panamanian resident, right? And they took the law from Panama. Like I know the law from Panama because I'm opening up an office in Panama right now. And there's a covenant in there. Like I could open up with a Panamanian person. I have my partner that I've known there, and I'm opening up with her, and I can work as a promoter. So there are legal ways that you can do it. But also, you know, you can't compare half the car and the other half you don't. In Panama, once you have your stuff together, the process of getting legalized there is a week. Tell me someone here who's gotten their entire residency in 1 week. I mean, I went in and out of immigration there, and it was like instant. And here, I've still been fighting because I'm a refugee. A lot of people don't ask, why is it so difficult? Because I'm a refugee. I didn't have a lot of papers. I had to find my mom's marriage certificate from 1973 communist Romania. Do you know how hard that was to find it, to get some paperwork from the states that they wanted here?
And you have to start over. Anything that you don't do on time, you're starting over.
And that's thousands of dollars.
And I think that is a even opening accounts, even setting up your business, those things are hurdles that are created. And it's like, it shouldn't be that difficult. But it's difficult here.
And I can compare, because I can compare where they took the law, which is Panama, and I can compare how long it took me to open up a business account, create an entity, get my Copa Airlines credit card there. I can compare. So if we're going to compare, you're going to compare apples with apples. Don't give it to me on this one end of it, but then forget to mention the ease of process in the other one. So I think, number one, there should be regulation, and there should be respect for the SRL and the current system, because I feel like they're excluding us, and they're excluding also, it's classist against Dominicans that did, okay, maybe you're not from a rich family, maybe you actually had to work, maybe you didn't have time to go to Pucamaima for 4 years, and you know, because it takes 4 years, guys, to become a lawyer in this country, right? It takes 4 years to become an attorney. So they basically want you to go through the same process of becoming an attorney in order for you to become, what does that have to do with it? And you know what's interesting here? And you could go to school as a foreigner here, and you can graduate being an attorney, but you cannot practice if you're not a citizen of the country. But I've been on my last couple of shows with my friend Pablo that was here. There's the Dominican Society for Lawyers in the United States. Lawyers from here can go and do courses there and practice law in the United States.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So this is where we go, I can't say that word, reciprocity or whatever, right? We don't have any voice here. If this does pass in its current state, let's just say for argument's sake, and we don't file injunctions and we don't file changes to protect ourselves here, it is going to affect 90%, I think, of the brokerages. Because even if the broker has been here for a long time and has it, what do? You have two options. Fire 50 to 80% of your staff, depending on what your demographic is, right? And we're talking locals and Dominicans as well. You have to fire them, and or that opens up the door to people not working ethically and legally, which is not what we want licensing to do. We want it to be all inclusive to work ethically.
Exactly.
So the third option, it pretty much wipes out all the independent brokerages, and you're then under the branded names, because you're under the same, you know, back then when we set up shop, it was only a few people that were selling. I mean, when I say a few, less than hundreds and thousands of people, but it will force you to kind of go under one of those motherships to sell real estate, and then wait for them to pay you out. So, I mean, what happens to, like you said, all the blood, sweat, and tears it took to open up our business, and we paid into all of this, so now we have to go under someone else.
What kind of effect do you guys think this is going to have, you know, on the economy? Obviously, stuff will still sell, but right now, a lot of expats take the Punta Cana market and take it to places like Canada and the U.S. and deliver it that might otherwise not get there, which is a lot of...
It'll get there. You're just going to have to do it under a motherboard.
And you're going to have to do a lot of stuff not on paper, which is not what we're trying to do, right? It actually defeats ethics. So it's a very good question. I think it defeats the whole ethics that we're trying to do here, right? That's number one, because it's going to force a lot of people to go underground doing things, right? Like, you can't trust them, trust me, I'm one of you here, or whatever.
Everyone's going to try and get it done another way.
Exactly. And what it's going to do, I don't know how long it would last, but I personally believe, because even if expats are looking right now and they're like, this guy Mario, this stuff is never going to pass or whatever. If it did pass the way it is today, right, it's going to affect us so much that there's going to be a massive conflict of confidence between expat brokers and agents and the locals, right? Because what this looks like to me on paper is basically a bunch of the big companies here got together with the association, who already doesn't include us, who already doesn't want us. You know, they've invited me. I have photos that I can show you speaking to them. And I talk to them, and they're like, we know, but nobody cares, right? So at the end of the day, it's going to cause such a conflict that I think for at least a several year period, it can destruct the market here. Because if all of a sudden this drastic change happens, you know, like, and I said this, I'm in a group chat with mostly Dominican brokers, right? And a few expat brokers, right? And I'm the only one there, and they were just hammering in on me.
They still let you in after that.
I keep looking to see if they actually kicked me out, believe it or not. But a few people at the end understood what I was saying and like were on my side. But the bottom line is the way they're doing it, I feel, and I've seen this. I'm from New York. I'm a business person 30 years. Like, yeah, I'm not here to, you know, sugarcoat it. It looks like the major companies in with the association, they want to remove the expat community and just make most of the money in the commissions for themselves.
Yes.
Whether it destroys the market, long-term confidence or whatever, no one's thinking about that.
It doesn't seem like they care about that.
Right. It's just like, let's just get rid of them. Let's make our money. Let's get all the commissions. They're gonna the gringos are still gonna buy. They count on us not being, what do you call it? Not being united because they don't even know. How many people knew that there was an association for 30 plus years? How many people knew that they're lobbying? So they're the ones that are lobbying, right? Think about it, like in the United States, we have like the lobby association. They're lobbying to do this. And part of the things that really got me upset was I'm in this group and, like, you know, you get to see where people's mentality is when they write in the group. And one guy was like, there should only be, to be a brokerage, you should have 10 years of experience. I'm like, all right, calm down, Buccaroni. Let me explain to you a little bit here. I called him Maduro. I said, listen, Maduro, take it down a notch here. Yeah. What you want to do is you want to do like the United States, right? Where you have to work as an agent for 2 years. You have to get X amount of points that you earn through sales and rentals, and then you qualify to open up your own brokerage. Now, that's the right way to do it. And there are a lot of us expats that are licensed in Canada, in the United States. Why are you guys not coming to talk to us about it? Exactly. You want to talk about licensing. You want to talk about what's good. Come, let's have a sit down. Let's all talk, the association and us. But if your stance is you don't count, even though you're here for years, paying taxes, established, selling tons of property, and you don't count, only we count.
The process is not the issue, because I think a process would be beneficial, and if there's one that's fair and beneficial to everybody, you know, we're all for it.
They think we have an unfair advantage. Think about it.
Yeah.
You know, immediately when we're dealing with a lot of different nuances coming down, whether you're a minority, you know, coming down, we're all the same, even though we're different, you know, we're still expats in another country. Coming down, you're taking opportunities in business, you know, money. So they're looking at it like, yeah, we need to regulate this because we need to force them to kind of come under us. There have been, there's a lot of Dominican-based brokerages, not just the big names that we see all over the U.S. and Canada, that we're in competition with them. Like, you take one sale, you know, $200K, that's taking food out of their mouth. They don't want to keep, you know, so they're looking at it like if they can get the developers on board and sellers on, then they can run us out.
Let's come up with a way that everyone can do it properly, and we're going to have the best outcome for the clients, because that's what it's really about.
That's what it's about. I think the only way is that if we unfortunately or unfortunately, I know what the word is we have to create our own brokerage, like not a brokerage, but our own association, or at least like a voice with legal backup to be able to first get accepted by them to sit at the table. Because, you know, it's an interesting thing. So I'm in this group, and one of the people who's a high-ranking member of the association, I got into it with this person, right? And this person was like, well, made a comment about the illegals in the United States, right? Like, and I said, you guys must really have like a thing against us in the U.S. Because it was like, well, what happens to the illegals there? I said, well, let me explain something to you, right? I don't know if people use Google, but I'd love to be treated like an illegal here. I get my housing in a hotel. I get $150,000 loan like they're doing free. It was 0% interest like there, right? I would get my Section 8 benefits to get put in a house. I would get my food stamps, and I'd literally be sitting at the beach drinking Presidentes all day and not working. So please, if anyone here doesn't like the way we're treated, wants to treat us the same way we treat the illegals in the United States, I am here for it. I'm ready to receive all my benefits. I have a nice apartment picked out downtown, guys. You can give me that $150,000 0% loan. I'm ready to go.
I'm right next to you. And the one thing that you said there is that seat at the table. And I think that is you hit the nail on the head, because I think in order to have a voice, I think everyone has to get together and have a seat at the table, because without that, there's no voice, there's no opinion.
And to your point, Mark, I've been in communication on both sides with other fellow brokers that are Dominican and as well as expats. And you know, it's interesting what you said about us forging some sort of association where we band together, and maybe new relationships will be formed after this, where we can definitely have a stronger front to go about this, because it's very real, and I can see it happening just because of what's been going on the last few years, 5 years in Punta Cana, in DR period, in real estate, with outside brokers coming in from, you know, the United States and Canada, and people that are not based here. this is a real thing, and I think we have to take it seriously. And I think
agree.
if we start even with some of us that are, like I said, they're legally established, not freelancing, but we're legally established businesses, we band together and start approaching this.
And I don't mean it and I say this in no malicious way. We all want licensing. But we want a seat at the table. We want to be respected. We want to respect as expats that have had businesses here that pay tons of taxes. Like I said, I pay more in 1 year here than I paid in 5 years in the United States because of the way the tax system works. We're doing it right. We're not sending the missiles out of the country. We're investing back in the country, and all we're asking for is a seat at the table. And one other point I have to make to some of you expats, right? You guys, you know what I'm talking about, because I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about right now. I found, and I don't know what your experiences have been with this, sometimes an expat's worst enemy is another expat who has one step up on the ladder. Because in the same group I went at it, and some of the expats, well, you know, I'm a foreigner also, and I've got mine. And again, the path here is not a clear path to paperwork. So many people like it expired, and you know, sometimes you just like, I don't want to spend another $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. I got taken by attorneys. I've had attorneys send me to consulates where they said, oh, go here because I know somebody and it was a scam, and I went to Puerto Rico. I have stories beyond stories because it's not a clear-cut system. Then I resolved it on my own, but then, and I was a week away from a cedula, and then they asked me for a document that cost me $7,000 in the U.S. and years to wait for it because that's how long it took to find the paperwork. So it's not a clear-cut system from everybody, but I've had expats who are just like, oh, well, you know, I've got it, and, you know, everyone should get it too. And I want to say, come on,
hey. Expat voice, I really like it.
It's like, sorry, not everybody sells to $5 million clients that have easy ways to get into the system here with the attorneys, the top of the line and everything. Your $200,000 buyer doesn't have the same power as your $5 million luxury enclave client, and we need to be real about that. And then I've seen expats like, well, everyone should have it. I had it. And also, those of you guys that are expats that had it in the old government, the guys that were here from the old time.
When did they get this? Was this pre-pandemic? Was this even, you know, the process has changed. Even now, what you did, even things like opening a bank account. It used to take, you could get it in a week. Now, I mean, who knows? It just depends, and then it deters you from the process, and that's what I think they want to do with this regulation, is deter us from even wanting to just say, you know what, I'll just give up.
You know what they call it here? La vuelta. La vuelta is like the spin. You know, when you're dancing, doing la vuelta, right? It's very common in many different things here to do la vuelta. That people get tired. For those of you guys that have done real estate here for a long time, you would understand one thing. How many of your clients have you had where they just gave up on the process because it was so tiring? There are lawyers that are banned from all the expat groups because they took so many expats' money and left them hanging for years. Then it expired. Now a couple of $1,000s more that you have to start all over again. We know, we can't mention those names, but we know who they are. How many people here have started the process and threw in the towel because they just got frustrated and fed up?
We didn't give up yet.
every day. And you know, honestly, even me being independent, and I had agents under me, and now it's just me. But you know, I wanted to throw in it like during the pandemic or right after. I almost threw in the towel because it's not easy. So you know, here I feel like it's just like, if you can sell real estate here, you can sell it anywhere, because it's bigger than just us opening and closing doors. We have to do a lot more, especially with the client. That is more than just opening and closing doors. So like, even though you said it's not rocket science, you do have to do more than you would in the United States or Canada.
Absolutely.
Agreed. And then, you know, I also have a point of comparison, right? Like, you know, you go to Panama, for example, and I say that because they took the law here from Panama. So I'm going to compare it to the because, you know, people want to compare it to the U.S. when it's convenient, then want to compare it to Canada when it's convenient, then to Europe when it's convenient. No. Let's stick to the subject. This is from Panama. This is a law which excluded the good parts and added some really crazy extreme stuff. But now you go to Panama and you will land in Tucumán airport, right? Right there. Get your residency right on top. $300,000, you go speak with the lawyers. As long as you have your antecedentes and you have all your stuff, boom, within a week. You stay for a week in Panama, the lawyer works it out, and you get residency. There's a clear path to permanent, and that's permanent residency. And if you don't qualify for that through a business, you get a 6-month, then a 2-year, then you get your 5-year after that. And I think 5 years into the permanent, you might be able to get citizenship there, if I'm not mistaken. Alex, I'm gonna have to ask you that, Alex. But anyway, I think so. You can't compare places. You can't take legislation from a place where they have clear cut. I went to the bank, I did this, I opened up an account. There was no inventando vaina y nada de eso. Everything was straight up. So again, if the the system was like that. You know, it's not fair to judge people that come here and they're trying to, you know, we in the expat groups all the time, we're like, how do I open up a bank account? They told me this. I had a lady, just so you guys understand how crazy it is. I'm going to tell you a crazy story right now, right? I'm not going to name the bank, but it's because I don't want to get sued, but it's a big bank, right? I work with one of my banks, right? And I know what the mortgage process is. And I was looking for someone that was a little bit more responsive, and I reached out to somebody that does car mortgages for the bank, right? I mean, car loans. And I said, do you have a representative that works with mortgages? Because I'm really looking for somebody that could give back to my people, right? Puts me in contact with somebody. I called this person up and I said, we're talking, we're going back and forth. And I said, what are the, you know, how do you work? What are your requirements for a mortgage? Now I already know, but I'm going to test you because I want to see what's going on. She says, a foreigner has to have a Dominican on the mortgage with him to be able to get a mortgage in this country. I said, okay, thank you very much, and we will never be speaking again. This is how widely that can vary in this country where we all know that you don't need anybody. And that's one of the biggest ways people get stuff out here. I have clients from the law firm and they're like, yes, my boyfriend said that he has to be on the mortgage and on the title with me. No. And this person from one of the top banks in this country, told me that that's the requirement. So when we can't even get clear requirements on anything here,
that's right.
How can we be penalized for this stuff? How can we say, well, you should know?
And these are also issues that foreign investors having when they go in, they're seeing this stuff and they're like, okay, well, maybe I'll just not.
Well, that goes back. That's a deterrent for the country because, again, and honestly, I think the country should look at us as ambassadors that will be able to help the expat community that are investing. Because a lot of people, I'm telling you, even with that mortgage process, and I'm not going to name the bank either, but I've had people that because I have a representative as well, they won't even call them back.
Yep.
These people they won't even call them back. And to see, I stay in my lane. I'm not a mortgage broker. I don't know. I know general information, but I'm very, very, sensitive to that. So I don't speak about things that I don't know. So I'll give general information, but, if I pass the ball to you and you drop it, do you want this person to it's not user friendly, and I think that's going to deter a lot of people from investing in DR. But especially if they do away with some of us expat brokerages that are independent, we do a lot of education. I educate my client.
That aspect is massive.
And they have to find, but
Wait. Yeah. Be careful with that because they're going to ask us for a teaching degree to get a license after this. I'm sorry, are you a certified teacher to teach? Oh, damn, I almost had it, man. Damn, they got me again.
Okay, yeah, let me not bring that up. But I'm just saying that is why you need people that are diverse, that are coming from your home countries,
yes,
that are doing business here, boots on the ground, that can give you that real perspective of what's going on, not from the outside looking in.
Because they also understand where you're coming from. So I think
we've been through the process. We know your pain.
But sometimes it backfires because I've had clients that didn't go through me and they went through someone. I said, I'm your advocate. I should be your advocate in this country, and I think that you need. They need us here. They need us here, but. I mean, I guess they may say, well, we'll keep you here, but you're going to be under a mothership. You're going to have to join one of these other mothership brokerages and then get paid out and let them pay you out.
And I'll explain something to you guys. So I am, in my Ralph Cramden voice, I am the man from the future.
I like that one.
And I'll tell you what's going on because I saw this happen in New York, right? And I don't know if in Canada it happened with you guys, right?
Yeah.
When I used to manage Marone Properties, you guys can look me up. I managed Marone Properties. I had like 100-something agents below me. I used to work in the East Village office there. And what happened at that time, 2011, 10, 11, going back before like the 13 year, right? 2013 and before. Manhattan itself used to have tons of small companies like mine, 100 people, 50 people, 40 people. What happened? My company sold to City Habitats. Now, City Habitats, Corcoran, and I think maybe Element is owned by NRT also. So these big corporations, what they do is they buy up the places, and then they decided at one point after my company was sold to City, they closed City. Now they just kept Corcoran, right? So it's consolidated so much that you have a few major companies in Manhattan that run the entire Manhattan market, and obviously they have outposts in Brooklyn and Queens, right? It's becoming like that. Unless you're an old broker that maybe you have an account with a landlord that has 20 buildings and he's an older guy and you're an older guy. And then when he passes away and passes it to his son, he'll pass it to one of the big firms or whatever. What's happening is a consolidation. And I'm telling you now, I told people here when I met you like in 18, 19, and I saw what was going on, I said to people, I said, there's going to come a day here where you're not going to be able to be independent working from home. You're going to have an office. You're going to have to have staff. You're going to have all of this stuff or you're going to be pushed out of the business. And I see that now.
Yep.
Remember, I said it today on the show here, and it's recorded so you guys know. I'm going to tell you 5 to 7 years, but I think it's less than 7. 5 to 7 years, the majority of business in the Dominican Republic is going to be done by major corporations.
Yep.
You guys that are out there in the outer towns, I call it, so Sua Cabarete Las Ternas, you guys might not know. There are companies here with offices in multiple cities in the Dominican Republic that have over 200 agents
Yes.
per company. One has like 240, one
Yeah.
has like 150. These people keep growing and they keep bringing these people in. So as we're going to be excluded and whoever's left is going to be absorbed in there, I mean, it's just the law of what do you call capitalism, right?
Yep.
Of course.
They're going to
Exactly.
absorb all of the small, and you and your 5 people are not going to be able to last, because how can you last in a company where there are 200 people and each person spends $500, $600, $700 a month in marketing? When you add
can't.
that up, plus the company's
You can't.
marketing, right?
Can't compete.
And then what you do is you create laws and systems on top of that to help. You know, it's like corporations. Basically, what you have to look at is corporations in with the association. Because in that debate that I was having with somebody, right, they were like, and everyone should be a member of the association, but we're not allowed to be part of it now.
Exactly.
And I said it's not legal. We're not forced to join MLS where we're at. How can you force me to join? And some places might have 2 governing. Like if you're in Brooklyn, in New York, I'll give you an example. You could fall under MLSLI or LIBOR or REBNY, sorry, or both.
Yep.
So how can you force me to be under one of them? It's just creating more paths to exclusion so the bigger companies can absorb us. And that's what's going to happen here. Remember I said it. And the next, because they're seeing like, wait a minute, all these new projects coming here. Wait. Real estate is $1 billion industry in this country. I mean, when you think about Santo Domingo, Santiago, all the beach areas, right? And then the smaller towns, how much is being built here, right? You think about all of that. We're in $1 billion, maybe even the trillions over X amount of time, right? How many 50, 100,000 units either built or being built here, resales coming? I mean, we're talking about a massive industry in this country. Number 2 in the Latin America in growth is DR. Number 1 is Panama, and they're making their power play now for real estate, and they're making their power play for tourism as well, right? It's a smaller country, but anyway, they're making their power play. So you have to understand, I think that's where they're going. And at the end of this, what I think we're entitled to, if those of us that have done this the right way with corporation paying taxes, is to sit at the table with the association and reach something where it's beneficial to everyone. It's not excluding people that have been here, respect for all of us and respect for the community, and not to make a storm of this, because this can turn out super ugly. What I wanted from this show and with you guys is to let people know there's an association, to mention that we're not included, and to mention the proposed licensing, which I don't feel all across the board is what we're looking for. It knocks out the co-broking stuff as far as, 50-50 commissions and stuff like that, working ethically. There are companies that are sponsoring this that don't even let you show their listings. So for me, that's a pillar of ethics, right? If we can't, I won't show you my project, you don't show me your project, can we begin to base our foundation of ethics when that basic step is lacking in the regulation?
Exactly.
And
The
that's-
current state just completely of the draft is not acceptable. It doesn't fix any of our issues, and it creates a lot of barriers. So unless you have some solutions, that's not.
And you want to make sure you don't get the developers and the sellers on board where they are
Excluding us.
Where basically, and we see it happen a lot in the United States, where the developer will not give you a contract, will not give you exclusive. You would have to go through their development office or either one of their motherboard, one of the other brokerages.
Exactly.
One of the regulations that I found really interesting that I'd be for is the continuous training. And I know, Nadia, you had a good comment on that earlier.
No, I'm all for continuous education, but who's going to watch over the curriculum? What are they proposing in that? They're saying 120 hours approximately for the training. What does that encompass? And then what does that have to do with a bachelor's degree?
Exactly. So guys, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the comments. You guys can reach out to me through mariofamaed.com. My WhatsApp link is there. You guys can talk to me about it. What do you guys think? I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope this has been informative. Thank you so much for my guests here, and thank you again to the sponsors that we have here, Naco Cochones, Samana Group, and Gold Reef. I really appreciate you guys sponsoring the show. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you guys in 2 and 2 weeks.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
2 and 2. So that's a great information as things are changing here on the units, 6 titles in Sosua. So they hit on a bunch of stuff there. And, they're talking about even opening a bank account. It's so easy here. You just have to do it within 30 days of the stamp of your passport, and it takes a few hours, but I deal with Bank of Santa Cruz. You need your bank statements and a letter, and maybe, did I have a letter? Maybe you need a letter of employment or something like that. Bank statements, passport, obviously. Yeah, I think you need a year's statements from your home country. But pretty easy, and they set you up. It's it's a debit card and Visa, and you've got American accounts for an American account for international wire transfers, and then a local Dominican account that you can use your, you can tap at the machine. It's beautiful, but you got to do it in the first, 30 days. So, and residency is not real easy, but they make it easy if you invest money and you're here for a while, you can get it. Your home driver's license is good for 30 days, 90 days when you land on the island. The stay of your visa. Technically, your visa is only worth 90 days when you hit immigration here in the DR. If you leave the island every 90 days, you don't have to pay an overstay fee because anything over 90 days is an overstay, and they get you by the day, by the month, by the year, by the decade. It's reasonable. You could spend a few years here to cost you a few $100 type of thing. But if you have a legal driver's license in your home country and the stamp on your visa, on your passport is less than 90 days old, you have a driver's license here. I got insurance on my bike using my driver's license from home for $8 for the year. Now, I'm not looking for a whole lot of insurance. It's, I just want insurance for when I get pulled over, have my paperwork in order. And getting pulled over here is not like back home. It's like meeting a cool dude that's probably underpaid and hungry. And super friendly, normally. If you're cool, they're cool. I mean, I've only interacted with them a dozen times or so. But I think one was trying to pull me over the other day, and I drove right by him, and I didn't even look at my mirror to see if they were coming after me because I was right in front of the cop shop, and he was waving his book, and I was, just blanked out going through town. I'm like, hey, hola, amigo. Back home, my heart would be racing. I didn't even look behind me. It's different here, man. So, yeah, your visa's 90 days. You pay for an overstay over your 90 days. You can get medical down here, no problem. I don't know, it's $25, $30 a month for basic, right up to, a couple thousand a year for like something with the frills, maybe 3,000. I can't remember. I've got all the details. I've done another video. I should do more. Oh, shit. I forgot to stop the recording after Mario. I need to do a show that's concise with all the stuff. Like, I've done costs and stuff before, but I'm not sure that it's clearly a title that I've done. Well, coming up, one of my titles will be how to move to the Dominican Republic with $1,000. Now, I wouldn't recommend it, but there's some ways you can make some money down here as an expat. And, Mario, we just watched the whole video. He's very organized and legal, and he's got his SLRL and everything down here. But you can just go and sell. You go to the lawyer. He gives you a certified check. You walk across the street to your bank that you share, and they cash it. It's that simple. No broker, no... Like, I guess once you make a certain amount of money, you better be, legal and paying taxes. But when you're just starting out, it's 100% in your pocket, American funds. And it's nothing to laugh at. I mean, in Sosua here, it's not uncommon to get 10 points on everything you sell if you get the buyer. Like, you can do well. So if you're unhappy with where you're at, oh no, what am I doing? Consider coming for a vacation. And, we can put you up for, I don't know, a few hundred, $400, let's say. If you're coming by yourself, and you can get by with like a studio apartment, which is 32 and a half meters large. So just under 350 square feet, maybe something like that. Meters are times 11, so figure it out roughly, I think. 10's close enough. Yeah, so well under 350, but like a totally done little, it's got everything you need. Efficient, we call it a bachelor down here, right? Or a studio, sorry, you call it a bachelor at home. If I was organized, I'd have that clickable right here as I kind of gaze at my screen and just blather away about the police and insurance. And yeah, 400 pesos it cost me to get insurance on my bike. Like I said, I'm not looking for a whole lot, but here it is right here. This is what you get. 332, it's in K-block. See? Just happened to be handy. So you get a nice breeze up here when the screen doors, when the doors open. Anyway, as soon as you close that door, the breeze, that's got nowhere to go. So, but a nice little clean spot for $400. They read the meter when you go in, and they read it when you go out, and you pay 14 pesos a kilowatt hour. If you're not using your air conditioning, you're lucky if it costs you 1,000 pesos, $20 for the month. Seriously. If you use the air, maybe it costs you $50, $60. I don't know, but yeah, $20 for the month. You got a nice. This is Teresa Tropimar. If you're new to the show or the platform, this is one of the best spots. I mean, I've been a lot of places down the North Coast, and I'm sure there's stuff similar to this, but this is 120 units around a huge pool, 2 pools, one smaller up top. 120 units, 24/7 security, battery, generator backup, so, the power goes out here quite a lot. You got to have a reliable generator, right? And I also advise a UPS. So you're plugged into a battery, so when everything cycles, your router doesn't cycle with you and knock you offline when you're broadcasting. I think I paid 3,000 pesos. Did I pay $60 really for my UPC down here? Is that a thing? I can't remember. It was 6,000 pesos. Maybe it was 120, but whatever. I couldn't believe I bought a 30-foot HDMI cord the other day for $8. I looked at it twice. I go, is this 1,600 pesos? Yeah. $8 for a 30-foot. Wow. Where am I? Lots of things are expensive here. Some things are unexpectedly cheap. Like traffic tickets. All right, so this is where you can... So, yeah. If you're getting tired of where you're at, you're getting taxed to death, and you're not keeping any of your income, switch it up, man. Sell what you got. Take a little piece of it. You can buy something like this for... You can buy a one-bedroom for $80,000, $90,000 US. These ones, the last one I sold was $40,000. But good luck finding one of them again. If we ever get another studio, like there's one in there, $95,000. Now it's done nicely, but the last one sold for $40,000, and the next one will probably sell for $70,000. Because you can get a one-bedroom for $85,000, $90,000, and the gap is closing. And the market is solid here. It's brisk. And if you got a contact list, like if you are a used car salesman or an insurance guy or whatever, you've already got a vicious Rolodex. And all you got to do when you get down here, Real Estate 101, is get on the phone, call your peeps, and go, hey, guess where I'm at? Yeah. Sosua. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, $100,000. Yeah, nice little 2-bedroom on the main floor. Sure. Oh, beachfront, 250, 2-bedroom on the beach. Yeah. What's your flight number? It's different here. It's better here. So with that, I don't got much more. Yes, you can get mortgages. Yes, you get private lending down here. And so, yeah, if you happen to come down here and you're not sure what you're going to do, real estate is a very good one. You can just refer buyers. If you got a Rolodex, you can just refer buyers to a guy like me, not like me, but like me, that's doing a lot of business, or that's carrying a heavy listing load, or it's got opportunities with like I've got some vicious opportunities down here. Owner financing on businesses and hotels, restaurants, development flips. Yeah, 50% down, way lower risk. You can get a mortgage down here. It's like jumping on through the hoops back home, plus a couple others, because they don't usually ask you for your passport at home. But other than that, it's the same thing. So real estate could be one. Even if you weren't in the business of negotiating deals, you can make decent money just referring agents. You find a good agent, and you just refer buyers to them. Your Rolodex. Management's also an opportunity here to make decent money. There are some expats doing it, but it's wide open from the standpoint that there's no one on. There should be a North Coast management company, that's everywhere. So I think that's wide open if you want looking for business opportunities. You can do it at small scale though. Contracting's also a thing. But your competition in contracting is a local, Haitian crew guided by an expat that's got cheap prices, right? And then you get your expat guys that charge expat prices that'll do expat things for you. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're an engineer or a babysitter or whatever, you got to be on the job every day, and you got to have a good general contractor with good subs, right? And be there all the time. Otherwise, you're going to pay for it. So, yeah, there's opportunities for that, whether it's, contracting in electrical or plumbing or stuff like that. But then again, those specialized fields, and oh my God, the wiring down here is just atrocious. So yeah, there might be a good opportunity for a Canadian or an American style electrician because everything they do down here is garbage. And yeah, just general referrals. If you've got a guy that's taking a hotel like this, like a room like this, for you might be able to make a 10% commission on something like this. You got a guy that's coming down to rent. And the kickbacks are a big thing here too. If you're new to the show, and you haven't listened before, because commissions are so great, and most of the time, especially in my building here, I tell the people, listen, if there's another agent involved, you got to give them 5%, and I take my 5%. So that's 10% if you get full pop, and you got to pay 2 agents. But if I bring the buyer, I'll do it for 5. Usually it's $5,000 because it's like they're usually under 100. So there's a huge opportunity to feed legal bird dog fees and referrals because they're legal here. You can pay anybody you want. You don't have to be a registered agent to get a referral fee like you do in most of the other, countries where I came from. My history is just United States and Canada, practicing legally in Canada, but many friends and family and stuff in real estate throughout the States, throughout the years that I've practiced real estate and gotten to the odd convention here and there, and trainers and, conferences and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's time for me to get out of here because my stomach's starting to grow out. And I got more. What else I got today? I can't even remember what day it is. It's Tuesday, right? The day after Labor Day. Yeah, I got some new stuff coming up. This I kind of did on the fly because, I said I'd do it. And so there's that. And then, I don't think I got anything else. Yeah, I was just tagging on to my boy Mario. And if you're a realtor and you're looking to get away, consider coming down to the old DR over here. And like I said, I can pick you up at the airport, put you up at a place right over there. 400 bucks a month. Food's cheap here, man. I can get 2 pieces of chicken and moro de guandules. That's like brown rice with beans or something, peas or something. Green beans, maybe. Small ones. Oh, delicious. Delivered to my door. Well, when I first got here, it was 150 pesos. Guy brings it right. Fresh fried chicken with moro and a side salad, either potato or green. 150 pesos? Just so you know, that's not even $3 American. Delivered. Ridiculous. I ate chicken, beans, and rice for 6-8 weeks when I got down here. On a budget. So yeah, look for the next video. How to move to the DR with $1,000. No, that's not what I did, but pretty close. I think it's pretty catchy. Anyways, peace, love, hug your neighbor. And I am out.